Welcome to the Catholic Life Coach Podcast. My name is Carla Fitz. I'm a certified life coach, wife, and mom of two beautiful little girls and a handsome little boy. My hope for this podcast is to support and empower other Catholic women to live their most authentic life, to share life coaching tools from a Catholic perspective in order to help you live a more fulfilling and aligned life filled with peace, joy, and abundance. Let's get started. Hello, my loves, and welcome to this episode. This episode is very special. I am so blessed and honored to have a guest on the podcast that is very dear to my heart, and it is one of my clients, Carrie. Carrie, thank you so much for coming with me. I am so excited to have you on the podcast. Please introduce yourself. Tell us all about you.
Thank you, Carla. I'm so excited to be here. My name is Carrie. I am a recent convert to the Catholic faith. It's quite a long story, but my husband and I had visions of Jesus the same night on Easter Vigil of 2022.
Oof.
We ended up going to a Protestant church for about a year, and it was a great experience. We built a lot of great community. But we were missing something much deeper, and we both realized it was the Eucharist. And it's been such a beautiful journey. I tell everybody becoming Catholic is the best thing that's ever happened to me. And I
Oh,
met you,
hope it.
Carla, through our mutual friend and your coach, Jamie. And I'm so happy that she introduced us, and we've been working together for not that long, a little like
Yeah,
two
almost
months.
3 months.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's been
it's
an
been.
awesome adventure. At least for me, it's been amazing. Tell me, share with us a little bit about where were you at before we met and yeah, what brought you into coaching?
So there's a few things. I really wasn't feeling like I was living out the new value system that I started to feel being Catholic. Um, One of the main things that you helped me work through pretty quickly was just being more comfortable expressing my faith, sharing my faith. It was a little hard for me to share with some friends and even my family, especially my family. And I feel like I gained the skills and the confidence to be able to share that in a way where I was letting God take the lead and not trying to do it myself. And what I felt with the way that you coach and the way that you approach things is that it's not about using your own strength, it's about having Christ at the center, which was what happened to me when I became Catholic. It was like I really desired to put Jesus at the center of everything. And I had experienced coaching in the past and had some good experiences, some not so good experiences, but I realized a lot of it was I didn't have my faith that I have now in the coaching experience.
Mhm.
So it's a much more surrendered, much more relaxed, much more less of my own effort and more relying on God. And so there were just some changes that I wanted to experience, and I wanted to have somebody hold me accountable because I
Yeah,
knew I couldn't do it on my own.
I love it. Would you mind sharing a little bit about your experience prior to having coaching mixed with your faith? Because I know that there's a lot of coaches out there too who do coaching, and like you said, it's you do it on your own, you work on your own thing, and that's all you need. And our sessions are very different because God is always with us, and we try our very best to always remember to pray ahead of time, right? And we're trying
Right?
to welcome all Him into every single thing that we're doing. But I would love to know, like, what was your experience with coaching before you met me, and then now, how do you see it?
So I actually years back I got trained as a health coach and actually did a little bit of coaching myself. So a lot of it was focused on nutrition and diet and things like that. And then I did experience some career coaching around specifically working with a coach who was in my industry. And it was helpful. I did gain some insights and we worked a lot on mindset. The biggest difference, though, is there was no faith involved in it. It was a lot of relying on my own strength, my own doing. And I did gain skills and awareness of, okay, what was I thinking about my job?
Mhm.
And really valuable ways to not be a victim to my circumstance and not to blame my circumstances and just recognizing like circumstances are 50-50.
Hmm.
Sometimes there's going to be good things, sometimes there's going to be some not so great things.
Right.
But it still felt very much like my own doing and not really being in that surrendered place with God,
Yeah.
at the center of it.
Yeah.
That's the main difference. And I feel like
Yeah.
in our sessions too, there isn't an agenda. I mean, you're always ready to help, but it's not like ahead of time, like, okay, this is what we need to work on.
Right.
But I really appreciated when we first, before we started working together, just some of the questions that you sent me. I spent some time at Holy
Yeah.
Hour in front of the Blessed Sacrament, and obviously that was nothing I ever used to do, but I feel like I'm able to hear his voice more, and it's
Mhm.
not necessarily what my will is, but what his will is for my life. And I'm starting to hear the differences between
Yeah.
when I know it's his will or my will, because I feel like we can create a lot of things,
Right.
but they may not necessarily be what's best for the people around me or what's best for my life, what he wants me to do. So I feel like that's what's really unique about what you do and the way that you coach. It's really putting him at the center. It's not you telling me what to do, it's me tuning into
Yeah.
what he wants me to do, which is not always easy to hear or follow, but he will
Yeah.
talk if you listen.
100%. He always does. And if you are welcoming, right? Like if you are open to receiving that answer, it's much easier to listen to him. It's much easier to communicate and to connect with him when you don't have so many thoughts blocking your connection. And that faith, that trust that we can have if we open our minds and if we start cleaning up some of these thinkings that stop us from seeing him clearly. One of the things that you mentioned that is that one of my things that I absolutely love about the training I did, and I love it. It's the reason why I hired coaches that were trained in the same school is because we have that neutrality. And I love that you mentioned that because it's right. Like, I don't know what's best for you. Only you and God know what's best for you. My job is to help you see your thoughts, what it is you're believing, and to see if that is truly connecting with who you are and whom he is calling you to be versus telling you what to do, right? Like that is like one of the biggest difference I want listeners to hear because there is a lot of coaches out there who are meant to tell you what to do. And my job is I want to create this intrinsic motivation from each one of my clients to just learn to trust God and learn to trust themselves rather than depending on me to tell them what to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. You're not giving advice because
I
like you
can,
said, you don't know.
but
Yeah, yeah. But that's yeah, I feel like a lot of the changes and shifts that have happened have been from my own something that is landing with me. Maybe initially the thought might feel impossible, but you open the doorway for me to have that relationship with God to where I can trust him more.
yeah.
Because ultimately when I trust him, then I feel like I can let go of maybe a belief that wasn't serving me or was more like in the black and white instead of in the gray area,
Mhm. I
which I
love
tend to be very black and white, and you've helped me. You've helped
I
me
think it's
too.
very natural for us to all be a little bit black and white. Like it's one option or the other versus the possibility that there's more options out there. And when we're open to his vision, it's so much easier to see what he can create with us. I love that. It's beautiful. I'm curious as to what were some of your hesitations before you decided to join the program and to just try it out and see how it went.
Yeah. Well, I knew the power of coaching. Like I said, I had some good experiences. Also had some
Mhm.
experiences that were not so great.
Right.
So, my hesitation was, is this really going to work? There have some things that feel impossible that I want to work on, and so I had to really tune into to God and pray about it and ask him and then just after I talked to you I could feel a connection and it was different than maybe what I had experienced in the past and I knew it was going to be scary anything that scares me, I know I'm going to grow from.
Yeah.
So I knew that that could sometimes get in the way. I think being scared can make us feel like, well, this isn't possible. And then I was a little hesitant about the investment, but I figured out a way. I found some money that was there.
I love it.
So, but then I also felt like, okay, if I'm investing this much, then this is gonna be really good for me. This is gonna help me shift and change and grow. And I remember within the first month, I was thinking to myself, so much good has come already, and I already have 5 more months.
Yeah.
So I think it can be easy to think like, how am I going to pay for this, or is this worth it? But I think the main difference is that we're coaching with God. It's not just the two of us, it's God there with us. So that's a huge that was a huge incentive for me because so much had shifted in my life since becoming Christian and then becoming Catholic. And I really liked the fact that we share the same belief system and we share the same common language. So when we would be coaching, it would be based on that and not like our own
Yeah.
strength.
I love it. How do you feel about your investment now? So we're 3 months into the thing, and you share a little bit about like, yeah, for sure you notice shifts happening already within the first month, but how do you feel now, 3 months into the thing?
Oh, I mean, it was totally worth it. And right before we met, I got invited on a pilgrimage to Italy with my church, which just felt like a dream come true.
Yeah.
I hadn't been Catholic that long. And last year I joke, I'm like 2024 was the year of the sacrament because I received all the sacraments and my husband and I got married in the church and received the matrimony sacrament. And then I get invited on a pilgrimage to Italy at the end of the year, and you had me do an exercise um, about it was like the I am exercise where it was all of the things that I wanted to experience. I can't
The
remember
living
the name of
vision.
it
The
right
living
now.
vision. Yeah.
Living
Yep.
vision. Thank you. And I remember writing the things out, and I didn't know very many people going on the trip. I knew a few people, but I'm an introvert, but I do love people and I love connecting. And
Mhm.
thankfully, this past year, I've built a lot of community with my church, but it was stepping out of my comfort zone, going to another country I'd never been to. And I remember writing that living vision. And then I said, what am I supposed to do with it? And you're like, nothing, just write it and that's it. And then after the trip, I looked at it and I'm like, every single one of these things came
Yeah.
to be. Really connected to God and feel like I grew spiritually. I inherited like a brand new family and just all the things that had to come together for me to get the time off work. And I made that decision to go on that pilgrimage before I knew I was going to or how I was going to get the time off work. I ended up getting the time off work. My supervisor was so enthusiastic about it. She's like, of course you can go. Like, that's an amazing experience,
Yeah.
which I was not expecting her to say. And then I ended up getting paid for the days I wasn't there.
Yeah.
And I work in a school, so it was just like you don't usually get time off when you're not when you're during the school year. So it all just worked out, and that faith that I had of just okay, I'm doing this. It's being presented to me, and everything is coming forward from it. And then looking back on it after the trip, was just amazing. So I was like, wow, this stuff really works. And then
Yeah.
another thing that happened is I was terrified to tell my dad and my brothers about becoming Catholic, for a whole host of reasons. And I remember coaching with you on this, and that was one of the things that felt impossible. It felt
Yeah.
like I'm not going to be able to do this. They're going to disown me. They're never going to talk to me. Like all these crazy thoughts, right? And I ended up, we talked about invoking the Holy Spirit and just praying for the Holy Spirit to guide the conversation and when it would happen. I talked to both my dad and my brother, not together, but separately, and it was fine. I mean, my dad, he changed the subject, but he didn't disown me. I think he's uncomfortable with religion, but he, you know, he still talks to me. We still have a relationship.
Yeah.
And my brother was actually a lot more supportive than I thought he would be, and even said congratulations, and was asking me questions about it, and I survived. And they're still
Yeah.
my family, and they still love me. But that was a huge hurdle that I needed to overcome to feel integrated with my faith in my life. And that was one of the things that I had journaled about was I want my faith in my life to be integrated.
Yeah.
I don't want to be afraid to share my faith, especially with my family. That's like that's the best part of who I am now.
Yeah.
And being able to just share about it or say we can't get together on Sunday because we're going to church, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, has been a huge gift. So many things happened right away after we started working together that I'm just so grateful for. So the investment was worth it a while back. Probably
Oh,
after the first month, I was like, wow, this is amazing.
I'm so
And
glad.
I feel like I couldn't have done that without the support of a
Yeah.
coach, and the support of a coach who's really compassionate and will call me out like you do, but in such a way that serves me and serves my relationship to God, and doesn't let me play small or be in that black and white area. Yeah.
That is one of the things that I love about you is that you are so ready to take a leap of faith. And I think that affects a lot of your life. It's just that sometimes we have these thoughts and beliefs about ourselves that we are not capable, that we shouldn't, or that we should do this instead. And cleaning those things up is what really allows you to show up authentically and to enjoy your life. And I have seen you grow so much so quickly. And the big reason for that is that, yes, God is in the very middle of it all. I always love to say that God is in the front, He is behind us and through us. Like He is in every bit of us and in every bit of our journey. And it takes the support, like you said, and someone curling truth into your mind and what you're believing blindly in your mind. But it also takes a lot of openness. And I feel like that's part of what makes you this beautiful client is that you are open for change. You're just like, okay, I'm ready, let's go. And when you are able to just decide that it's time to change and you step into this, it's crazy what can happen. And that's what I think I've been seeing in you.
Yeah.
It's, yeah, I just love it. I love it. And yeah, you have created so many shifts. And a lot of this was about being authentic and being comfortable in your own skin. And it's a little by little process. And this is why I love that this takes a minute, right? But yeah, I wanted to say that first because I absolutely love who you are. And of course, I will always encourage you because I believe in you so much. Um, but I want to also ask you, like in the coaching, what do you think has been one of the biggest takeaways of the things that you've learned with me or that we've coached on? Anything like what would be your biggest takeaway?
That quote that you say from Saint Augustine, um, please say it because it's escaping me right now.
Yes,
The
it's
one about,
the
yeah,
yeah, without God we can't. Without without God we can't. Without me he won't.
right. So I feel like it's both. God, like you always say, God puts desires in our heart. And I think I'm clearer now than I was before, and more willing to accept these desires He's putting in my heart,
Mm.
but also realizing I also have to take action
Yeah.
steps. And it's not always like, okay, we'll just abandon everything and just trust God. Well, that might not be the most grounding thing for a person. And I feel like we have to have the boldness and the courage to hear what He's saying to us and realize that those desires He's putting within our heart, but then we have to be willing to be uncomfortable. We have to be willing to take those steps. Like I remember like before I called my dad and my brother, I thought I was going to throw up. I was like, but it's more worth it to me to have that freedom, like you said, to be authentic with my faith and to boldly share it, and not from a standpoint of wanting to change them or anything like that, but just from the standpoint of being able to be honest.
Yeah.
And but I couldn't have done that first if he hadn't said, okay, this is the time. He's putting it in my heart. And then ta like taking that step of having that phone call and
Yeah.
risking that what might happen. But I was able to trust him. So I think when he puts those desires in our heart, we can either let them sit there and keep going on with the way we've been going on with our lives if it's not functional for us,
Mhm.
or we can do the hard things and take those risks, but trust that he put those in there for a reason. So I think that's the
Yeah.
biggest takeaway. It's just it's both and, it's not one or
Yeah.
the other. Because we can just pray and pray and pray, but if we don't take action, things aren't going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think like one of the things that I talk about this a lot with my husband, especially because I was one that found the life coach world outside of our faith, but I always saw it through the lens of our faith. That's what helped me grow in our faith, go to mass more, to have a relationship with God, to trust him more, to practice surrender. It was all through life coaching. And it's so important, I think, for us to remember that yes, we have to trust God above all things. But I always say this picture of like God is constantly in this river of graces and love and abundance. But with our minds, we are constantly blocking it. We're like, no, we don't see it. I don't actually think that's true. We are not able to see opportunities. We only see the lack. That's why it's so helpful to meet in the middle, to both work in our minds and to trust Him. When I was putting together this mastermind, Rooted and Radiant, I wrote, this is in my board right here. You're going to love this. I wrote it was a mastermind, and my daughter wrote, that's right, it's a mastermind. That's all you need. You need a master and a mind. And if you think about it, Jesus is the master and you are the mind, which just blew my mind from my 8-year old. But then when I thought about it, I was like, that's right. Like, we need to do this with God, but we also have to work in our minds. Otherwise, we just live in this reality in our life that we have no option but to struggle through life.
We don't think we have another choice.
Yes.
We just feel
Yes.
like we're so used to where we've been. And you've helped me to realize that too with other people's opinions and maybe the actions of other people, where it's just like, well, based on the circumstances they're experiencing, maybe they don't know that they have another choice, or maybe in
Right.
what you're experiencing, you don't know that you have another choice. That it also helps us to have compassion with other people that may
Mm,
not be living in the same way that we are, or maybe not have the same beliefs, to know like they're operating from whatever conditioning they've had, whatever beliefs they're currently living out.
mm,
And sometimes they're living out those beliefs that way because they don't think they have a choice. But what coaching does is it opens you up to, oh, there's another choice, especially when those choices feel impossible.
yeah.
Because it's much harder to try to do anything on our own without God and then without another person who can look into our mind and say, like, I'm gonna reflect back to you what you just said. I love when you do that with me because I'm like, wait, did I just say that?
Yeah, sometimes we don't notice it. And it's sometimes too the beliefs that we've been practicing for so long that they just feel factual. Like you know, that's fact, but really, a lot of the times they're not. We have a different option to believe, and then we create completely different results from the beliefs that we're having versus just blindly saying, nope, this is the only option, right? And this is why we get in this cycle of stuck, feeling like we're not moving and we don't know how to get out, is because we are stuck in these cycles of beliefs that we've been practicing most of our lives. That's why this is like, I don't know, I always find it so freeing that we can hear it back and think, wait, is this what I want to believe? Is this how I want to live my life on purpose? I want to know because, as we always say, life is 50-50. Right? Life is always going to have half the time is going to be feeling amazing and half the time not so much. I'm curious how coaching with God in the middle of all of it has shifted things for you, or if it has shifted things for you, in how you perceive your life with the tool of, yes, it's 50-50, but I have a choice.
I think it helps you approach your external in a completely different way
Mhm.
because I think, especially with work, there's things that are that are positives, and then there's things that are not so great. And even going on the trip to Italy, it was, all the things that I had put in the living vision came true. And then at the end of the trip, I ended up getting a really bad cold. So that wasn't something I
Yeah.
expected. Um, so I think it just helps you to remember that we still live in a world where, we experience suffering,
Yeah.
but we also have the choice if we're experiencing something that doesn't feel like it's what God's placing within our heart to do, to start realizing we do have changes, so we can make changes. So I think it helps us to get out of being in the victim space and blaming our circumstances if things
Yeah.
don't end up going the way that we want, and to know that we're not always going to be in those dark places. We're not always going to be in the positive places either.
Yeah.
So, and that's the thing that Jesus, he tells us, your life is not going to be without suffering, but you have me at the center. I'm always with you. So I think it just helps us to remember that we're not a victim to our circumstance, and that things change for the positive and the negative.
Yes. And when you change that perspective of being an authority toward it on your brain, like when you change the perspective of being a victim to your thoughts to then being an authority over your thinking, like when you have power over your thinking, because you do, you're the one living with the thoughts, right? It shifts everything. Like it's that moment that you're like, oh, wait, I have a choice. I don't have to see this as a negative thing. I can see it as a growth opportunity versus a I failed or something like that, something more negative against ourselves. I love
Yeah,
that.
definitely.
Yeah. What would you say to the women who are listening and who are thinking of getting help and support, but they're just scared to commit?
Well, I would first of all say pray. And I would say, if you have an inkling that you want to do this, but you're scared, it's probably God putting it on your heart. And I would first and foremost say pray, ask him, whatever the reasoning is that's coming up, for him to show you the way. And that also sometimes we have to do really scary things to break through and to become the people that he wants us to be. And you can do it on your own, but it's much harder, unless you have somebody there holding you accountable and really helping to kind of see what's going on in your mind, especially when wanting to achieve something that seems impossible. It's so much more helpful to have somebody guiding you along the way. But sometimes those decisions we need to make are scary, but they result in so much fruit. And I was scared. I was scared
Yeah.
to coach with you. I mean, also just for what was going to come up, but I feel like
Yeah.
that's the only way we can really grow and transform, is when we have to really face that stuff. But when we can face it with another person who's compassionate and, will help us change and grow, and then having God, at the center of it all, it's like the perfect formula for being able to make those changes.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. One of the things that came up too as you were saying that is the thing that I offer prospective clients when they're going in and they're thinking about one-on-one or the mastermind is to have a consultation call, that very first call. And there's a completely free call. And I would love to see your perspective from that call. Like when we first met, what was your experience in, yeah, how did it turn out? What did you take away? All of it.
Well, I distinctly remember crying on that call. And it was good because I think that you ignited something within me where I was just like, okay, if I'm crying, like she's good. She knows how to really get in there. Because I think what came up was I just felt like my life and my faith were not integrated. And I was like, I feel like I'm living a lie. I
Yeah.
can't do this anymore. And then I just started crying.
Yeah.
And then I think I remember telling you, like, okay, this is real. Like, we need to do this.
Yes.
So I think, um, and then I remember struggling to be like, well, how am I going to pay for this? And then just the way that you were guiding me to be more empowered and think of solutions rather than just putting me like in a corner or making me feel like you were pressured. I didn't feel pressured
Yeah.
at all. It was more like I knew I needed to do this and I needed someone to just help pave the way and like realize it wasn't impossible.
Yeah.
But I distinctly remember crying and thinking like, and I think I even told you, I'm like, I want to cry in my sessions because I know change is happening. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And that's the beauty of crying. It's like you're processing emotions. And I think a lot of times that when we don't know how to process them and we don't have that safe space either to cry, to laugh, to question, to get frustrated, right? Like those sessions are there to help you have that beautiful sacred space too, where you can open your mind and not be judged and not be told what to do, but simply be aware and solve. I love
yeah.
that.
And processing emotions, I completely forgot about that. That has been a huge gift too.
Yeah.
Because I remember experiencing, I feel like it was something at work. And I came home and something you had taught me with journaling. And I just remember I started writing something, just kept writing, writing, writing. And then I knew things started shifting when I started to cry. And then, like, all the stuff that I was experiencing, all the resistance, it melted.
Yeah.
But it was because I allowed myself to feel the negative emotion rather than pushing it away,
Yeah.
pushing it away. So, and I think it had to do something with seeing other people at my work really passionate about what they were doing
Mm-hmm.
and just no longer fighting that, you know what, I'm not passionate about this because I was fighting
Yeah.
it for so long. And when I just let myself feel all those emotions that were coming up, um, I had the opportunity to let it go and to move beyond it. So
I
processing
love it.
emotions is priceless.
Yeah.
It's a gift. It's another gift of coaching. So
I love it. Yeah, that's one of my favorite things about coaching was processing emotions because that was something that I really struggled with for a very long time. I would just buffer my emotions away. And a lot of times society makes us feel like our emotions are signs of weakness. Whereas for me, I truly believe our emotions are it's a sign of empowerment because it's like the
mhm.
more you learn to process your emotion, the stronger you get. The more you welcome them, the easier it is to live your life and to live in a way that you're free. You're not having to hide behind emotions or anything. Like you're just able to be you. And I love that. Ah,
And you can survive. Like I think a lot of times we think we can't feel an emotion because we're not going to survive. And it's like, no, you're you're so free. Like you said, there's so much freedom involved in feeling it and letting it go
I love it.
healthfully.
Yes. Well, it's like one step at a time. We're not gonna be able to just let it go in one session and be done. This is why this is a 6 month deal because it takes us a minute. And I think also that support that you have in between as well. You have the calls, but then anytime you're going through something in between the week, it's something to keep you accountable and also to keep you clear in between calls. Like you're never that's what I wanted to give you guys was a sense of not being doing this on your own. Like you're carrying the crosses. God gave you the crosses to carry. He's there with you, but then you also have somebody carrying it with you. We need that help. We are human. But it's like accepting that help too and that love and that support to not have to do it alone. And I think it's just beautiful that God is there always, but having someone walking with you too is just, it's a huge help.
It is.
Do you have any last thoughts to share that you're thinking of or anything else? You don't have to.
I'm looking up at my serenity prayer. Can I share it in my
Yes,
office?
actually.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's something that I always love to ask is to share their favorite prayer. So I would love to hear that prayer.
Well, I think it's meant to be shared. So,
Love it.
God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
I love that. I love that. That is
Me too.
beautiful. I love it. Carrie, thank you so much for coming on this episode with me. And it's just been such a joy to have you. I always love seeing you.
Thank you for having me. It's been great to be here.
Hey, thank you so much for joining. If you have not heard yet, I have open enrollment for my mastermind, Rooted and Radiant. This is a 6-month mastermind for Catholic entrepreneurs to grow their business and thrive in their life. This is all about learning to trust, surrender, believe, and receive. It's all about growing in a community of like-minded women who are also seeking God to be in the center of their life. So if you want to get into Rooted and Radiant, or you want to learn more, schedule a one-on-one call with me, and I cannot wait to see your life transform from the inside out with Him at the center. All right, my loves, the link is in the description. Until next time, God bless.